Starbucks has rolled out a new initiative in New York City as a test market, introducing what are called Starbucks pickup stores and integrating Amazon Go so that people can go into these stores having ordered their coffee already on the mobile app beforehand and leave as quickly as they can with a cashierless experience. There's also Amazon Go in these locations so that you can pick up conveniences and small bits of food that Amazon Go typically sells, and it's a bit of a transition, I'd say, from a brand standpoint. And having seen the news of this come out, three things came to mind immediately. And the first is that the idea itself, while novel and exciting for the US market, it's one that's already been established, actually. So a few years ago, I traveled to China, and at the time, one of the fastest growing coffee chains in the world was Luckin Coffee, and this was pre-accounting scandal. And so at the time, its stock was skyrocketing because in a market like China that isn't primarily coffee drinking, Luckin Coffee was figuring out how to drive incredible store growth. And it was doing this with a similar model, which was rely very, very little on human capital at the store level. And so you would order your drink, your coffee on a mobile app, go into the store, and basically there'd be maybe one person there just kind of sorting out the logistics, and the coffee would be ready. And there's very little seating area. It really was kind of a get in, get out kind of process, as automated as it could be. And if that model is any indication, Starbucks pickups location or Starbucks pickup location, I think is a really viable avenue for growth for Starbucks in the long term. We're seeing, of course, I think the pandemic's been an accelerant for this trend, but people just want to get in and out of coffee locations quickly, or stores in general, right? We're getting used to buying things online, having things very, very convenient, shipped directly to our house or things like that. We're seeing even grocery shopping is changing, right? A traditionally very in-person retail experiences now, we're fine with somebody else picking up our groceries for us and then choosing the produce and things and shipping it directly to our house. And so this is just a continuation of a trend that I think is going to be one that we see in retail for the long term. Now, what is interesting, and it comes to the second point, is what this means as from the brand standpoint. What is the brand implication of Starbucks doing this? There's one that is when you think about partnering up with Amazon Go, I think that there are brand codes there that you're signaling to the market that are interesting to think about. But the one that I think is very interesting is how this kind of automated, humanless kind of experience foots to the original ethos of Starbucks, which was that, the whole premise of Starbucks initially was the idea of that Italian coffee shop and brought over to the States. And so that's why, the Starbucks baristas face you when they're making a drink. There's a very human element to how Starbucks built the brand and the culture that it has, and one of the reasons why I think a lot of people have transitioned to the way Starbucks presents its services. One of the things that I think a lot of people don't realize is that whole experience was very tailored. So the way you walk up to the cashier and you walk along past the coffee makers and the person making your drink is facing you, and the names on the cups and all that stuff, it's all very human, and there's a one-to-one engagement there that is the reason why so many people love the brand. Now, if you remove that with this cashierless way of doing business, what does that do from a culture standpoint, right? Does it break the initial brand promise that Starbucks had? I know in the first 3 stores that are being tested in New York, it looks like there are individuals that stand and present your drink. So I think they're keeping to the initial brand promise. But I think long term, this bleeds into the third point, is that this is a signal that companies are starting to think about ways that they can rely less on human capital, especially at the consumer-facing level. Because as we've seen over the last 18 months, finding people to do jobs like that nowadays is becoming increasingly difficult. And the more automation and the more you can take away the element of having consumer-facing staff, the easier it'll be to staff up your organization to a level where you don't need to worry so much. And so this, I think, is exciting from a consumer standpoint, because we can think of all it's going to be great to be able to just order my coffee and then, go into a store and pick up what I need and leave, not have to deal with any paying on premise. But what does that mean from a human capital and the hiring standpoint? What happens to what are traditionally considered entry-level jobs? These jobs where a lot of kids in high school and in your college years, you learn a lot of the intrinsic traits that you need to learn that aren't taught in college. Things like your discipline and something that James Phillip talks about on his channel, which are the 3 Ps: punctuality and persistence. So these skills that people need to learn and the workforce needs to build upon in order to become the kind of behemoth that it is today. Where are people going to learn these skills if these entry-level consumer-facing jobs don't exist anymore? So lots to think about when you think about Starbucks pickups. I think very exciting from an advancement of the retail experience standpoint. What does this mean for other retailers? Of course, do they adopt this kind of a model? It'd be very interesting from a personal standpoint if you could just walk in and pick up clothes and leave and not have to deal with all sorts of stuff. One of the kind of pet peeves of my own is having to try on clothes and things. And so there are lots of different long tail implications to this that are interesting to think about. But what does this mean from a human capital standpoint? And then what does this mean for Starbucks specifically with their brand promises and the original brand promise of Starbucks, and how does this transition the company away? What does that equation look like? This new age way of doing business versus what initially drew people to the brand and has resulted in that stickiness. All these things are at play here, and they're all very interesting to think about. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments section below. If you enjoyed the insights or the thoughts in this video, I'd really encourage you to hit the like button and also subscribe to the channel, just so that you can get all these updates as they come out.